Hello everyone and welcome to BSL Talks. I'm Courtney Green, Senior Manager of Youth Transitions at the Brotherhood of St Laurence. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands and waterways on which we live, work and dream, and thank them for protecting this beautiful place. I pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, past and present. I wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and contribution they make to this country. I particularly acknowledge the lands on which we are gathered from today. I'm speaking to you from Bunurong country, and panellists have joined us from Wurundjeri country. I recognise their continued connection to the land and waters of this beautiful place and acknowledge that they've never ceded sovereignty. I would like to acknowledge and welcome other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be tuned into today's event. I have with me Brooke and Megan, our Auslan interpreters for today. Closed captioning is available by clicking the CC button at the bottom of your screen. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be made available on our website after today. If you have a question during the event for our panellists, please use the Q&A button available. We have a lot of people dialed in today for this exciting conversation, so we may not be able to answer all of your questions due to the limited time we have, but we'll try our best. The chat feature is also on, so if you wish to make any comments or join in the conversation. And for those who are tweeting, we encourage you to do so. Please use the hashtag BSL Talks and please tag @BrotherhoodInfo. For those who may not know the work of the Brotherhood of St Laurence, we are a social justice organisation working alongside people experiencing disadvantage to address the fundamental causes of poverty in Australia. Our work is directly informed by people experiencing poverty and disadvantage, using evidence drawn from our research and program experience to develop practical solutions to create positive lasting change. Our BSL Talks for today is entitled Arriving to Thriving, which will explore the experience of newly arrived young people and what it takes to enable them to achieve their education and employment goals. While many young people of refugee and migrant backgrounds are ready and willing to work and come to this country with a strong sense of hope, it is common to encounter structural, language and cultural barriers that make finding and accessing employment challenging. Developing community networks, learning new language and navigating new systems are some of the key foundational activities that young people undertake during their settlement. Today, we have a wonderful group of panellists who will discuss the necessary components and success stories of a dedicated youth settlement service that enables newly arrived young people to receive tailored support around their education, training, and employment. They will share their experience and learnings from being part of the federally funded Youth Transitions Support Program, of which the Brotherhood has been one of 6 organisations that has been delivering on this program since 2016 and which is currently funded until June 2023. I personally have been fortunate to be part of this program since it commenced and have seen the positive impact that it has for young people and the community. As when a young person has access to meaningful and sustainable employment that aligns with their skills and aspiration, it fast-tracks settlement. As having a job is not just about income, but allows for building social connections, language and cultural understandings, and upholds a person's dignity and sense of purpose through allowing them to contribute meaningfully to society. I would now like to introduce our amazing panelists. So for our panelists, I will introduce them all to you. We have Paris Aristotle, AO, who is the founding Chief Executive Officer of the Victorian Foundation for Survivors of Torture, otherwise known as Foundation House, and has more than 30 years experience in the field of supporting refugees and asylum seekers. Paris has served on a wide range of state and federal government bodies, advising on policy and multicultural affairs, particularly the provision of services to refugee background survivors of torture and trauma. Currently, Paris is the chair of the Refugee and Migrant Services Council. Welcome, Paris.
Great to be here. Thank you, Courtney.
Our next panelist is Gina Dougal. So Gina Dougal is a dynamic leader who brings extensive community, health and leadership experience to her role as the CEO of Banksia Gardens Community Services in Broadmeadows. She serves on several boards and committees in the region, with roles on the board of Broadmeadows Revitalisation, Northwest Metropolitan Partnership, Neighbourhood House Victoria, and the Hubes Jobs Task Force. Gina previously held a position as chair of the Hume Whittlesea LEN and chair of Hume Early Years Partnership. Banksia Gardens is one of the Brotherhood of St Laurence's local partner organisations in the Youth Transition Support Program, which helps young people from refugee and migrant backgrounds transition into education or employment opportunities. Welcome, Gina. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Courtney. I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you all today for this fabulous webinar. Hello, everybody.
Thanks, Gina. Our next panelist is Sarah Hanouna. So Sarah Hanouna is a driven, passionate and extremely hardworking 19-year-old Assyrian, Iraqi and Australian woman who arrived in Australia from Iraq 3 years ago with her family. She's currently working as a youth advisor at the Brotherhood of St Laurence and will commence her Bachelor of Psychological Science at La Trobe University this year, which I believe you might have actually started already today.
That's true. It's my first day for uni today. And thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure for me to be speaking to you all tonight.
Thank you, Sarah, and welcome.
Thank you.
And our final speaker for today is Pawana Ahmadzai. Pawana is an aspiring 20-year-old Afghan woman who arrived in Australia as a refugee in 2021. In Afghanistan, she worked from a young age, teaching English to primary school age students and later working in administration at the Ministry of Public Health. Pawana initially found it challenging to pursue a career in business administration in Australia until she was connected with the Brotherhood of St Laurence and Banksia Gardens. Through the Youth Transition Support Program, Pawana participated in an internship which resulted in her being offered a part-time administration assistant role at Banksia Gardens. She currently works while studying her diploma in business at RMIT University. Welcome, Pawana. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's an absolute honor to be here, and I'm very, very happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've got an amazing panelist group here, so I'm very excited to get into the conversation. So I'm going to take it in turns to ask you all some questions. So I might start with you, Paris, if I can. So Foundation House is one of the other 6 providers of the Youth Transition Support Program. So can you please tell us about Foundation House experience of delivering this program over the last 7 years, and also to how receptive employers have been to this type of program?
Thanks, Courtney. I'm happy to talk about that. Look, our program's actually been going longer than 7 years, but the Youth Transitions Scheme gave us the opportunity to expand it significantly and also to develop more varied approaches to the ones that we'd been able to implement previously, develop different partnerships with, at that stage, job network providers as they were referred to, and just looking at different models within the community where we could find ways to capture the potential and motivation of young people from refugee backgrounds and support them in their pathway and their journey towards establishing themselves here in Australia and trying to develop a career elsewhere. And the issue for us was focusing on the particular age group we focused on, which was young people 16 through to about 24, was really it was the area where there were most challenges for young people arriving, because their formal education pathways had been very disrupted prior to arriving. It was a bit difficult because of the age they were at to be able to stay in high school for a long period of time. Not enough background to go on to university in some instances, certainly not without appropriate support. So what the YTS has helped us do is widen the classroom and the learning environment for young people with refugee backgrounds, where they've been able to work in partnership with employers such as Australia Post, Coles, Telstra, Woolworths, etc., to develop an understanding of working life in Australia, to be able to acquire the sort of confidence and the skills that they need to further themselves in the Australian community, and to build the social capital and connections that people like myself or my children grew up in Australia with. So it's been a fantastic program from our point of view, and the investment by the Commonwealth through the YTS has really enabled us to see some of the most marginalised and vulnerable young refugee people and provide them with the opportunities for them to actually capitalise, as I said earlier, on their incredible potential. And Australia as a nation is infinitely better off as a result of us being able to do that. But most of it comes from those young people. I should say that you asked about how receptive employers have been. I have to say the employers that I mentioned earlier have been fantastic, incredibly enthusiastic. They provide mentors in the workplace. They provide terrific orientation programs. And the truth of the matter is they would do more and more of this if they had the support to be able to do it. And what we found was that connection with employers and learning in a work environment was fantastic for self-esteem. People's language skills improved very quickly in those real life kind of contexts, which then flowed into benefits back at school and in education pathways as well. So it's been a fantastic program, really.
Great, thanks, Paris. And I think you really touched on some really important things there about the incredible potential, the skills, the talents, the attributes that newly arrived young people bring, and also the great work that's happening with the employers. And I think, you've really highlighted there how it works for young people, and also too, the value add that it is for employers as well. So Gina, throwing to you now. So Banksia Gardens has been, one of our local partners ever since day one. So I'm keen to hear, in your opinion, what are the benefits of having a place-based approach and a partnership model to this kind of work?
Yeah, thanks, Courtney. Look, I am sort of deeply passionate about this notion too of place and place-based, and then we'll park partnerships, and I'll answer that in a minute. But we are, for those here at the webinar today, we are a place-based, proudly organisation that is based right in the heart of Broadmeadows. And so by place, we are talking about the geographical area that meaningfully defines our work. So we are talking about Broadmeadows in this case, but we also need to recognise that the boundaries for Indigenous people too. So I'm here coming on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and that's very important that they be acknowledged all the time too in place, and particularly with young people that we work with, that it's incumbent on us that we tell them and that they become part of that whole narrative about place, and how that is very important as well. But also, if we're talking about a place-based approach, we're talking about the specific circumstances of place and engage local people from different sectors as active participants in the development and the implementation too. So this can happen with or without government. In this case, in this particular project, it is, you know, we've got, we're actively engaged with the federal department and with BSL. And in terms of partnerships, I think that the YTS program has been incredible in that it has been able to engage a lot of partners, local and other, that are like-minded organisations that can provide a really wide range of services. So that the services that I may not be able to provide, so at Banksia we have 46 different programs and 60 odd staff, but there are certain things that, you know, we don't do. So we're able to engage with all those other partners at YTS as well. So I think that that particular model serves us really well for this project. So it is where the lead agent, the Brotherhood, has been able to engage an organisation like us that really have the runs on the board in terms of place-based. You know, we're 42 years we've been in Broadmeadows and provide a whole lot of services and are able to kind of engage well with others, others that are like-minded. And, you know, we want to work and be able to provide the very best advice and services for the participants.
Great, thanks, Gina. And very much around, you know, how we've been working together to really harness that community effort to provide opportunities for newly arrived young people. I'm now keen to throw to Pawana and Sarah. So I'm going to ask you both the same question, but Pawana, maybe if I could start with you, please. So what was it like when you first arrived in Australia? And what were some of the challenges that you faced around your education and employment?
Thank you. Hi and good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the country, and I pay my respect to the elders past and present. And in response to your question, I have to say that when I came to Australia in 2021, the issue that I had mostly with education was that after we were all settled down, I decided to go and enroll in one of the universities, but then I was told that I wasn't eligible because I hadn't studied in Australia before. So that was hard for me. I was told I'll either have to go to class 11 and 12, which I graduated in 2020, and I'll have to take some TAFE courses at Kangan. And that's exactly what I did. I went to Kangan, but then they said that I'll have to wait a couple of more months because I have to wait for the next semester, the new classes intake. And so that's what I did. I waited a couple of months, but this is where the second issue comes, getting the job. These few months, I decided to, you know, use this free time and maybe apply for some jobs and see if I can get a job somewhere. But I remember every night I sit with my brother scrolling down websites trying to find a job, but it was very hard because that mostly at that time I was interested in the retail sector and I wanted to, you know, just apply for a retail assistant job. But I wouldn't get any response back from them. I don't remember getting a response from any of them. And I knew exactly what the issue was. The thing was I didn't have anything mentioned in my resume to say that I had experience in this, you know, being a retail assistant before. And it was actually personally really, really hard for me because I see people around me going to work, they're going to schools and universities, but then I was just there in my room and I didn't know, you know, I had no idea where to start from and how it's all going to go because we've all come back to, you know, we have to all start back from zero. So to see that I'm not eligible to study, I can't get a job, it really kind of stresses me out. It stressed me out at that time. But yeah, mostly these were the issues of the studies during starting my studies and getting a job.
Thank you, Pawana, and thank you for sharing your story. And I think, you know, touched on some of the things that Paris was talking about around, you know, the challenges that newly arrived young people have in commencing their education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sarah, I want to ask you the same question if I can. So what was it like when you first arrived and what were maybe some of the challenges that you faced around education and employment?
I similarly had the same challenges with Pawana, which was mainly about education and employment. So when I came to Australia, it was not only like a new country, but it was a whole new world to me. Because like coming from overseas to Australia, the timing is different where I don't know any now here and any like people. So it was like I didn't have a community here where I feel belonged. So I was communicating with my family overseas. So it was like a very complete different system to me that is about either the timing or like the understanding how does everything works here. And also like I have heard so many stereotype about Australia when I first came that is like people won't help me even if I ask for it, and life is here so difficult, and different people will say different stuff. So I was really like I'm confused and feel lost. And from that point on, I came late 2019, which left me like to stay at home because it was holidays, which I stayed at home for 4 months. So I was like isolated by myself. I couldn't communicate because I couldn't speak English well. So during that time, I started improving myself to speak a little bit English so I could communicate with others. So when I joined the school, I spent 2 months in language schooling, which during that time my teacher saw that I could speak well, so they moved to high school. However, I couldn't know how to read or write in English. So while I was doing my high school and until this moment, yes, I'm doing what I'm doing at high school or like succeeding, but it's really English is still the main barrier for me. And I really had so many struggles with of writing my essays, correcting my grammar, and really needed like someone to guide me on this, because like I never did the stuff that I'm doing here, because like the education system is really different to what I used like in my country. So this point, and like English was the main barrier for me. I didn't get a chance to get a high grades, which was another issue for me, like causing me pressure that I'm not good enough. And the other point was employment. So I knew I could improve my English better if I could work. So for 2 years, I've been applying for jobs and getting rejected, and sometimes getting the interviews, but also like getting rejected. So even when I did my research and did my resume and did like some mock interviews, like prepare myself, but all of these stuff were not good enough because like I was doing my own research, which was not really matching with the Australian system. So the main issue was for me is the understanding the system, how everything works here. And this was my struggle with education and employment.
Thanks, Sarah, for sharing your story there as well, and really clearly articulating the complexity of navigating the systems around education and employment. So now I'm keen to know, what worked for you. So I might start with you, Sarah. So in your experience, what has it been like being part of the Youth Transition Support Program, and how did the Brotherhood of St Laurence and Banksia Gardens Community Services help you succeed?
So for me, like I'm a really determined person, but that is not good enough unless like you have someone beside you, like a community to be belong. So once I joined the BSL, the Brotherhood of St Laurence, new great opportunities and doors opened for me, where like I could showcase my characteristic and leadership personality. And through this network, so many great opportunities I did. And this was through the network that I had with the BSL, which is, I really feel it's a very big family where I feel belonged, and people, like I got to work here as a youth advisor and like to work with a great individual who believed and cared about me and cared about my visions and my goals and started working with me. And one of the example was I had a coach from Banksia Garden where she was helping me for applying for jobs, and I didn't get the job. Like, okay, I'm working here as a youth advisor, but I recently get my new job as a part-time job as a youth trainee with the CMY. And I also get another opportunity where I became a Victorian Youth Parliament. And all of this opportunity came from this like network of joining the BSL, which if I stayed by myself, I couldn't have done this stuff. So joining that, it's created a wonderful environment for me, which I got to be more driven, more into the community and encourage the people surrounding me. That is either from my sibling or my friends to join these programs and to get to know more of these programs of involving with the community, involving with to build their characters, their personality, and like to get more training into leadership, which I think is really important for young people, for them to know how to speak out for their rights. So I did get lots of opportunity where I was doing public speaking and advocating for so many young people, which is like for me, each time I was doing this, my colleagues from the youth advisors or the coaches were encouraging me to keep going, even when I felt like I cannot do it, but there were always people who believed in me. So it feels like I really felt belong and safe to be working here, and so many great opportunities that I got for just being a youth advisor.
Great. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing that, and congratulations on all the amazing opportunities that you've been successful in recently. I think you've really highlighted what Paris was saying too around, supporting people to get connected and build their social capital. And I think, as Gina said, it's around having those strong partnerships and working with those trusted organisations locally to provide those opportunities for young people. Palmana, I'd like to ask you the same question if I could. So what was your experience like in the Youth Transition Support Program, and how did the Brotherhood of St Laurence and Banksia Gardens Community Services help you?
To be honest, every time I try to picture this whole program and getting involved in this program, I feel like I can see a door opening, a door that I was struggling to open for like so many months. By opening this door, I saw like so many opportunities. There were so many good things to look at, At BSL, I've met so many amazing people, which I appreciate all of them. They've helped me so much to get into this program, especially Renee. I've also met amazing, lovely people at Banksia Gardens. I went to Banksia Gardens with, I didn't have much experience in the role that I had as an admin assistant, but no one ever showed me that she doesn't have experience or she's a new staff and stuff and all these stuff. But, they actually helped me. So every time someone would tell me that, oh, can you do this job for us? I used to bring myself down and I thought that, oh, I can't do this. But they never showed me that. They always helped me. They would sit with me, show me like, look, this is how you do it and this is how you don't do it. But what I'm trying to say is that I was around people who were really friendly. I felt really welcomed when I went to Banksia Gardens. I remember the first day when I met everyone, I was like, oh my God, how is this all going to go? But then the second and third day, I was like, I've met these people for many years now. I know them since a very long time because everyone was really friendly and welcoming. And plus, for this program, I feel like it was a great opportunity for me to add more to my resume. In Australia, I know there's like lots of job opportunities, especially for young people, but if you don't have experience, then you will face issues that I faced like before I get to this program, where I didn't have any experience and I wasn't getting a job and that was one of the reasons. So getting involved in this program, I was thinking that I wish we had more of these, refugees coming to Australia. It's not easy to get to education. It's not easy to, find a job. But if we have these programs and if we're able to attend these programs and take part in these programs, I feel like this is a big chance to everyone, and I feel so grateful and I feel so lucky that I was able to come across this program. And totally, the program has helped me in so many different ways. It's helped me build up my confidence. I'm able to speak to clients, clearly and help them when they need my help. And also, I'm able to. I'm the type of person for who it's really time consuming to get to new people and get to a new environment. But when I saw everyone so friendly and so welcoming, I felt myself so comfortable, and I knew that okay, everything's going to be okay. There's no need to stress, and everything's going to be fine. And that's exactly how it all turned out. And when I did finish my internship after completing 150 hours, I was happy. I was like, I can add something to my resume now. But luckily, I was offered a job from Banksia Gardens, and I was like, I couldn't ask. This is the best thing that can ever happen after all those months that I had stressed out and stuff. So this was just a great opportunity for me to recover again.
Thank you, Parwana, and I know Gina would agree with me that Banksia Gardens Community Services are extremely lucky to have you on board. Great to hear both your experiences there, Sarah and Parwana, and I know, Paris, you would have heard many similar stories like this in your time within the sector. So I'm wondering, Paris, in your opinion, what do you see as the value of programs like the Youth Transition Support Program beyond employment support and assisting in broader integration and settlement?
Sorry, Courtney.
No, you're right.
Look, I mean, one of the advantages of the program is, from our perspective, is that we can apply a trauma-informed lens to the work that we're doing with young people and understand their experiences through that lens. The nature of refugee flight and what actually happens before someone becomes a refugee is usually extraordinarily violent. There's profound experiences of loss as a consequence of it, and what comes with that often is a level of trauma that can sometimes impact on how young people feel about how they're going to be able to move forward into the future. Given the extraordinary potential, and you're listening to two people here, Parwana and Sarah, who illustrate that extraordinary capability and potential. There are thousands in the refugee program with that. So being able to approach the work in a way where the services are designed and framed through that trauma-informed lens, which is easier when we're able to offer it in a more specialist context than just in large employment programs and so forth. Really, I think does make a very, very big difference. We've already talked about the importance of social capital and so forth. But one of the things about that is friendships. So we partner with the Centre for Multicultural Youth, who've been a partner in our program for years, who help support volunteer programs where other younger people, maybe a few years older, who are at university, are connecting with the young people in our program. And so it starts to break down that sense of social isolation, or how the hell will I fit into this new country? There are things here that I don't understand or that I'm so unfamiliar with. And that there's a real mental health benefit in that for young people. Any young person, really, none of us get by without friendships, and it's wonderful to have great organisations and fantastic workers who can support people on that journey. But people develop friendships for life, and that's what sustains most of us, is those sorts of relationships. And I think the YTS and the nature of this program really helps us to focus on that type of activity, while at the same time helping cultivate the skills and the potential that young people have in this environment, so that they're able to thrive on their own and have a greater sense of agency and self-worth, and build a future for themselves as well. So for me, those benefits, connecting them into other programs, other services, all of those sorts of things, creating friendships, reducing social isolation and so forth, are all the additional, it's the value-added elements of what the YTS offers, and what the programs engaged through the YTS have been able to do so successfully. And they've been evaluated more times than I can count really, but and each time that's been borne out through the independent evaluation.
Great, thanks, Paris. And I think, what you're saying really resonates with what Sarah and Pawana were talking about with their experience around that sense of belonging that the programs gave them as well. Pawana, from my understanding, you've also had some experience working in Workforce Australia programs. So I'm just wondering if you could tell us about what your experience has been like and how you see that this program, the Youth Transition Support Program, differs from other employment programs you've been involved with.
So basically, I think every refugee who comes to Australia, they go through this. We all had, all our family members, we had income from Centrelink special benefits. But so I have to say that we also had a job provider, a very supportive job provider who helped us in many different ways. The only issue we had was with the system itself. The system was very hard and it was very complicated, to be honest. We had to attend these appointments every fortnight and kind of report on what we've done in the last couple of 13 to 14 days. How many jobs have we applied for? What's the reason we can't get a job? And just, progress on what we've done. The thing was that with these appointments, my mom would miss out her classes. I'd had to miss my classes. We sometimes would have doctor appointments where we had to cancel because we had a job provider appointment. So I think they always used to, I feel like something that really stressed me out at that time is that they were asking us to get a job when I didn't have any experience. So I told my mom one day, I was like, how am I supposed to get experience if I'm not getting a job? Or how am I supposed to get a job if I'm not getting experience? None of these work. And then what we were thinking is that when we first came to Australia, we have these language support classes, which is free of any charge for refugees who need language support. But we were thinking that we wish there was a kind of program where we could get trained for any, where we want to, for example, where we want to apply for a job, we could get trained for a couple of months, or let's say 2 to 3 months, and then after that we were able to apply. So that's exactly what YTS did for us. We got trained, and we actually the program went through 5 weeks of writing resumes, helping and developing interview skills. So all of these were covered during this program, and that's exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for someone to start from and get some experience, because not getting a job was lack of experience was the only reason I wasn't getting a job. So the difference between that the Workforce Australia system and the YTS program is that in the YTS program we were given a opportunity to get trained, and because I can say that we all have skills, we all have talents. We just need opportunities to show this. So I was given the opportunity to show that I can handle the reception desk, I can handle speaking to clients and stuff. And so that's the overall difference, I think. In the Workforce Australia, I feel like I was much pressure. I was under lots of pressure to to know that then I'm not getting any help on how to apply for jobs and where to apply for jobs and where to get started from. On the other hand, I'm just I have to attend these appointments. I have to report why I'm not getting a job and stuff like that. And also, the Workforce Australia has had this other system at the last couple of months, which was really hard for me too. Is that we had to report overall what we're doing, for example, our studies and our work and stuff. And then according to that, we were earning points. And if we didn't do that, it would affect our payments. So that was also kind of something that we really stressed. It really stressed me out. As soon as I got a job, I just called and felt like I was like, I'm done. I've got a job now. So overall, I think that's the difference of giving opportunities to refugees and people who need them.
Thanks, Pawana. And I loved what you said there around, we all have skills and talents. We just need those opportunities. So thanks for sharing that and really articulating sometimes the complexity around navigating those other systems. Gina, I might just throw to you now, and I'm just keen to hear, why do you believe that the Youth Transition Support Program has been successful in providing young people with opportunities into employment and education?
Yeah, a few key points that I'd like to make is that, we've heard from Sarah and Pawana, and they both have very, very individual stories. And that's, you know, and as Paris said, we've got thousands of young people with 1,000 stories. But what's really important is that we need to know all of those stories, and our coaches need to sit and hear all those stories, and that they need to be responsive and flexible and reliable and passionate. But Banksia Gardens is also an organisation that does do a lot of work, and all our staff are trained in the trauma-informed space as well. And that's not just doing a couple of courses here or there, and we value Berry Street and we do a lot of that work, but we really do see ourselves as specialists in this area. So we've got involved in a lot of the work of Bessel van der Kolk and Bruce Perry, so that we actually understand what we're talking about as well. And we know that people who have come from, who have had some serious trauma too, that, we need to be making those social connections. They are the best things that we can do as well as helping people get jobs. So I think it's a very bespoke program, this one, that requires a bespoke approach for every single special participant that comes in, because they've all got different stories and they require a different response. So there is, everybody is going to have different plans and ideas and goals, and that means that we need to find the right responses for that. And I can tell you that we have excellent coaches as well. So we choose the best people to do the work with these fantastic young, passionate people. So we need passion with passion, and then we have these extraordinary results. And I'm thrilled that Pawana is working here part-time. She's become the face of Banksia. So when you walk in the door, we have thousands of people that walk in the door, and she knows how busy it is. She is the face of our organisation. So we really did throw her in the deep end, but we will continue to do training with her, because we believe exactly what she has said, that, she is driven and she wants challenges, and we want to be able to give her those challenges. And that's just one example of some of the work that we've done here too, but also long term. It's been 7 years that we've been doing this, and as we refine it, we only get better.
Yeah, thanks, Gina. And I think really important, as you say, that every individual is different and comes with their own story and has their own kind of aspirations that they're wanting to focus. And we're lucky to have amazing coaches that work alongside young people. So, Sarah, you mentioned earlier that you're one of our youth advisors at the Brotherhood of St Laurence. So I'm keen to hear from you around, why do you think it's important for us to involve young people in program design and delivery?
Sure, it's really great questions, which I feel really passionate to answer for this. So one of the examples is, I'm a young person myself and a youth advisor, and also my younger brother, who is 16 years old, he is also a youth advisor here. So when we are doing this kind of program, we have to be logical about it. So we're saying these programs are for the young people, these programs are designed for them. So it does not make sense if we do them without involving the young people. So I think and I see that involving and getting young people to co-facilitate into the planning and into facilitating the programs is really important, as by the planning, you are understanding the need of the young people, the need of what's happening within the outside work. Because I see that the coaches and the managers here who are doing and designing this kind of work, they are already busy doing what they are doing. But people like us who are doing schools, doing the work, we are understanding the issues of the young people and seeing what's happening. So the youth advisors are the bridge of connecting those young people between the coaches, which is this is the starting point to design this kind of program. And also by giving them co-facilitating or just facilitating, they are being the role model for other young people to be involved and to be more driven into the community. And also it's really important for the youth advisors themselves to develop their leadership characteristic, and I could see that in my brother. So Mario, when he first started first as a youth advisor, he was really shy and not sharing or opening that much. But after a while of being involved and being a youth advisor, I could see the growth in his personality, the characteristic that he has done. And Mario, he did actually presentation to with new people that is not same as his age, and it was 100 of people. He gave a presentation. So I was really impressed that I could see my brother, who was shy to speak, he could stand there and give that presentation. So it's great opportunity for the organization itself, for the youth advisors, and for the other young people.
Great, thank you, Sarah. And we definitely grow a lot from being able to work very closely with you. Both you and Pawana are already achieving amazing things at the moment. And thank you. I know you're both at university today, so thank you for taking the time to be with us today. But I might start with you, Sarah, around what are your goals and aspirations for the future?
Sure. This is another great question. So I believe in the power of today, not tomorrow. So for the future, to me, is already what I'm doing. So studying psychology is already my passion area. And the work that I'm doing, for me, like being a youth advisor or being a youth trainee or being with the community, is not just a work for me, but it's my passion that I'm doing it because I love it and because I want to give back and also improve myself by being with other people and listening to them. So this is already the future for me, that what I'm doing today. And of course, I do have some goals for the future, like becoming a psychologist, which is the reason I'm doing Bachelor of Psychology.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Maybe one day you'll be working with Paris at Foundation House. And Pawana, I'd like to ask you the same question. What are your hopes and aspirations for the future?
For the future, so of course, I hope that I'm able to finish off my course for this year and maybe enroll in new courses for next year. And I'd like to see some progress in my job and be able to get a higher level job. And I'd like to, by finishing this course and maybe getting a higher level job, I hope to be able to help people be part of organizations, be part of services that provide help to people in general, and also help people who come to Australia as a refugee, because even though we have different stories, I feel like we're coming to Australia, if we're coming to Australia, we're kind of sharing the same stories. We might be sharing the same emotions of, feeling, not having much friends and families around, just like me, who doesn't have much family here in Australia. So I hope that somehow throughout my job, I'll be able to support them and let them know that everything is going to be okay, but gradually. So we need to be patient, and plus tell people that look for opportunities, and if you see something on your way where you think this can be something for you and it can be a good outcome for you, then take that opportunity and just overall for future, I hope that I'm able to help people and do my work on the job that I'm doing.
Thank you, Pawana. And I think you're already helping lots of people already, so I know you'll continue to do that. I want to open up for some questions from the audience, but I do just want to quickly maybe throw to Paris and Gina just to see if you've got any thoughts around why you think it's important for programs like this to continue, and what might be the gap left behind if programs like this were to stop. Paris, I might start with you if I can.
Well, look, I think one of the big mistakes that's often made in policy terms is the belief that organisations can be all things to all people, and that they'll get the particular type of tailored assistance that they require. That was a huge issue in the old job network. I think it will continue to be an issue in Workforce Australia. and in other big systems, including in schools and so forth. The value of the YTS is that we get to develop very targeted, focused, specialist type approaches that are trauma-informed, that take account of cultural diversity and other diverse issues, and then augment those other mainstream systems in a way that enables them to bring what they have to offer, which is a whole level of other technical and support, and then have it applied to this group of people in a way that doesn't miss the mark, that we can find ways to partner and really capitalise on the different things that we can bring, that then enables young people to reach out, as you've heard from Pine and Sarah, to take advantage of that. Whereas if it's just part of a big system and they've got to somehow find their way through that big system, or we have an expectation that the system will be responsive to them all of the time, history tells us that doesn't happen. So the value of this is the ability to provide that augmentation. And, you know, of course, very happy to have a chat to Sarah when she's finished her psychology degree. And indeed, we have some young people here working for us now who went through our You Can Too program as a part of the YTS. So there's certainly precedent for it.
Great, thanks, Paris. Gina, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Oh, look, I think Paris covered it, but I think, look, there would definitely be a gap if we didn't have this. It's been going 7 years, but also, you know, any good program refines itself over and over, and that's what this has done. You know, it is an exemplar model, and, you know, I really hope that government understands that this is an exemplar model of delivery that we need to stay, because it relies on local expertise and that it is bespoke in its delivery for every participant. You know, I've been around the traps like Paris has, and it's not often that you can really talk glowingly about, you know, about a particular program. But, you know, we really love this one. We can see the impact that it has, and we want it to stay as well. So there would be a huge gap if we didn't have it.
Great, thanks, Gina. And apologies, I haven't left lots of time for other questions, and I think that's due to us having a really rich conversation with the panelists. I do have a question here for Sarah and Pawana. You talked about, you know, the difficulties when you first arrived, and the question here is for you both. Were you surprised at how hard it was to find help when you first arrived in Australia?
To be honest, I was surprised because, you know, coming to Australia, I knew that there's like, because I was always told, and I always knew that there's lots of job opportunities for young people in Australia. But when I did come to Australia, we had support in many different ways from organizations, and, you know, because we came here to Australia and stuff like that. But the thing that I was really surprised on was that, you know, I go to university and I was told that I'm not eligible to start my studies, and then I go to like, you know, I decide to apply for jobs and stuff, and I see that I can't get a job, and I knew that I had to have, like, you know, at least a few months of experience in anywhere. If I, for example, like I said before, I was mostly interested in the retail sector at that time. So I was like really surprised that, I mean, we have like all the other kind of support and stuff, but the thing that is really stressing us out, we don't have anyone to, like, you know, to go and talk to, and like this, someone that could, I always wanted someone to come and say that, okay, so you've come here, this is where you start from, this is how it all starts from. And yeah, I feel like I was surprised that we had support in different ways, like in other issues and other topics and stuff, but the job and the education, which is, I think, the most important thing when you come to Australia, education and starting studies and getting a job. I was really surprised that I'm stuck and I have no idea what to do.
Thank you, Pawana. And Sarah, did you have anything you would add to that response?
For me, I also was surprised. So the first year I came to Australia, I was in Queensland actually, and I just wanted to join a volunteer work because I knew that my English is not good enough, but joining a volunteer would improve my English, and also I will be giving back to community. So I was really struggling to find that, or to find any services that I could be connected to. And I also struggled to find help with my education as well. So it's not easy, like when coming to a new country, to find these services unless you go and ask and seek for like these services.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. And just a last one for you. If you could give us a very quick response before we hand over to Travis. So you talked about, obviously, the youth advisory group. Just wondering how important you think it is to have young people from all different cultures to be engaged in this group. And if you know, can you share how many cultures are represented within this program?
So when we are talking about cultures, it's important also to consider the people that we have. So I'm a multicultural person myself, because like I'm a Syrian and also I was in Iraq. Plus I went to Jordan before I came to Australia, and these already 3 different cultures. And then when I came to Australia, I was engaging with different cultures as well. So like, and coming to youth advisory group, there were lots of diversity. So having this diversity is creating an open-minded space for other, like the people who are coming all along together, because we know Australia is multicultural. So as a result of that, there is lots of respect. There's lots of open-minded people, like for acceptance. So within our youth advisory group at the BSL here, we have actually different cultures. So like, as I said, I'm Iraqi, Assyrian, and I was in Jordan. And there is my other colleague, she is Afghan, and I think other people been in Lebanon. So already they are bringing these different cultures with them. So it's really diverse, and there's lots of diversity.
Thank you, Sarah. And I think that's all we've got time for in terms of the questions. I would like to welcome now Brotherhood of St. Laurence Executive Director Travis McLeod for some closing remarks. Thanks, Travis.
Oh, thank you, Courtney, and thanks to all of our wonderful panellists this afternoon. So Gina, Paris, Pawana and Sarah, and to Brooke and to Megan, our Auslan interpreters, and everyone who's joined us for this virtual conversation. Before I offer some comments, I also, like Courtney did and many of the speakers did, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the lands on which we're all joining this virtual BSL Talks from. Like Courtney, I'm on Bunawong land, so down in Frankston today at our Disability Services and Aged Care Services, and I'd like to pay our respects to Elders past and present and acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have joined this forum today and are part of our respective organisations. I was very proud to join the Yes campaign launch in Adelaide last week and show support for recognition and a voice to Parliament in this year's referendum. This conversation has been incredibly enriching and insightful, and Courtney, I should say, because you're one of the most humble people I know, you've moderated it like a true natural, and I know just how committed you have been to building the success of the YTS program and helping it to be a win-win for young people, for employers, for governments, for communities. So thank you for all the work you've done to make YTS such a success. And I want to thank Pawana and Sarah for sharing your stories so beautifully and so powerfully, especially on what is clearly a very busy day for the two of you. You're both inspiring, and you really do reinforce just how critical the Youth Transition Support Program is to young people who are new to Australia. Your shared experiences highlight how YTS, which is, I think as Gina mentioned, now 7 years old, helps to remove so many of the barriers young people face. It helps to build social capital in place. It helps to open doors. It helps to build pathways to education and employment. It helps to grow connections to new communities, whether that's friendships, as you put it, Paris, social hubs, job opportunities, skills networks, mentors, services and champions, all with it extraordinarily capable trauma-informed providers too. And we saw one of those participants, Shama Hussain, who was part of YTS, speak so powerfully at the federal government's Jobs and Skills Summit last September about her experience. Another comment I wanted to make by way of closing was that today's discussion has combined a few worlds for me, which I love. So Paris and I, about 7 or 8 years ago, were involved in the development of a report called Settling Better, which offered a blueprint for a different way of doing settlement services in Australia. And as part of that, we listened to the experiences in Canada, the United States and Germany. And we heard that one of the weaknesses in Australia's proud settlement history is where we've fallen short, especially on empowering better pathways for employment, education, and especially for young people. And that's where something like YTS comes in. What's been missing is what Gina described, that place-based response from key partners working to wrap around support on education, employment, social networks. And we've heard just how powerful the results have been. It's been an incredibly effective way to enable better education, training and employment outcomes and increase social capital for marginalised refugee and migrant people. We know it's a program that many people love, and so we're determined to do what we can to secure ongoing funding so that more refugee young people can build social capital and enhance their participation in this country that we love. And we know that it is a brilliant return on investment in young people's social and economic participation. Over the last 2.5 years, I think the program has worked with over 5,700 young people. It's linked 56% of participants into supports to ensure retention in education. 32% have undertaken vocational training and 22% have achieved excellent employment outcomes. That's a wonderful set of results. So we do love it, as Gina said, and as the panel's testimony illustrates. So for now, I just want to thank all of the panel once more for being with us today and sharing your insights, your expertise, your experiences. It's clear from the discussion that we want to sustain YTS well into the future, and hopefully we can do that. For now, though, it's goodbye from all of us at BSL. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the screen or in person again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Great job.